guys, it's Malik here. We're going to look at exercise 6b, not 5b, and it's about defining sine, cosine and tangent. So by the end of this, you want to know what sine, cosine and tangent actually mean. So here's a unit circle here, and there's a little picture of a man pointing to the point xy there. So as you can see, like we discussed last time, when we go to the first quadrant, we have pi on 2, well that's 90 degrees. If we go round to the end of the second quadrant, that's pi, which is 180 degrees. And then round to the end of the third quadrant, 3 pi on 2, which is 270 degrees. And then, of course, 2 pi is the whole way around the circle, or 360 degrees. We explained that in the previous video, because exercise 6a. We know that it's a unit circle because one unit is from the centre of the circle to any place on the circumference. Now, what we also want to know, and what we're going to learn about here, is that the y-coordinate of your point xy is your sine theta value. So this point here, xy, if we were to label that point, the y value would be sine theta. So the vertical distance is sine theta. The x-coordinate is going to be cos theta or cosine theta. So the distance from the centre of the circle to the end of the triangle there, that is cos degrees. We can therefore say that the point xy is also cos theta, sine theta. So they're the values for it. Now, over here, we are at pi on 2, or 90 degrees. So on that star there. If we want to find sine of pi on 2, we think, well, what would the y value be at that point? Because it's a unit circle, we know that from the middle of the circle to the edge of the circumference is going to be 1 unit. So if we're going up to the point there, it means that sine theta, your y value, is going to be 1. What about the cos value? Let's think about that point where the star is, and let's think about where we go on the x-axis. So cos of pi on 2 is going to be 0, because on that star we are still at the origin, so we don't move anywhere left or right. So cos of pi on 2 is 0. What about here where we've got pi, or 180 degrees? Sine theta, well, we're on the x-axis, we're not going up or down, so that means sine pi, not sine theta, is going to be 0. Think about for cos pi, where we are on the x-axis is at -1. So cos pi is -1. The next one to look at is 3 pi on 2. Let's look there where that star is. So sine of 3 pi on 2, where do we go on the y-axis? Well, because it's a unit circle, we must go 1 unit to get there, but we're going down. So sine 3 pi on 2 must equal -1. Cos 3 pi on 2, we don't go left or right anywhere. We are at the origin in terms of the x value. So cos 3 pi on 2 is going to be 0. Finally, let's look at 2 pi. Sine 2 pi. Do we go up or down? No. So sine 2 pi is 0. Cos 2 pi. We've gone 1 unit in the positive direction of the x-axis. So cos 2 pi is going to be 1. How about sine -3 pi on 2? What we need to do with this, we need to go -3 pi distance around the circle. So we start at 2 pi and we go over to here, which would usually be 3 pi on 2, but we're going in the negative direction, so that's pi over 2 units. We then go to here, which is pi distance away from 2 pi. And then we go up to here, where the star is. That's -3 pi on 2. Notice we've gone the opposite way around the circle, so in the clockwise direction instead of the anti-clockwise direction. Sine -3 pi on 2, what would be our y value at that point? It would be 1. So sine -3 pi on 2 is 1. What about cos? We don't move left or right, so it means that cos -3 pi on 2 is 0. Let's try another one. Sine -pi on 2. So this time we need to go in the clockwise direction pi on 2. We know pi on 2 is just 1/4 of the circle, so we go to there where the star is. Our sine value here is going to be -1 because the y value is. What about cos? We don't go left or right on the x-axis, so it's going to be 0. Cos negative pi on 2 is 0. Let's now look at evaluating with CAS. If we want to evaluate sine 1.8, cos negative 2.6, and sine 3.8, we just enter it into the calculator and press EXE. Notice that the calculator must be in decimal and it must be in radians for you to get the answers that you want. And that's all for 6B.